Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back to In the Know, brought to you by the Racing Post and Coral. 1 day down, 2 to go on the Aintree Grand National Festival. And pretty much all the big names showed up today, including Shishkin, of course, who bounced back from his very strange performance at Cheltenham to finally confirm himself a Gold Cup horse all along in winning the bowl. Before that, after that, in fact, Constitution Hill, of course, went on to jump every single hurdle impeccably and never see another rival. Zenta and Bowes Zenith served up a battle for the ages in the juvenile as well. And Banbridge made that Cheltenham skip a good decision in the end, but could he have won that and won today at Aintree as well? Given how far he beat Stage Star today, it could well be the case. But it was one for the markets, it was one for the punters as well. A lot of well-backed horses going in today, and hopefully we can continue that on today too. But it looks a hell of a lot trickier, that's for sure. We've got 4 more Grade 1s. We're over the national fences, of course, for the first time this week as well. And big fields are plenty to try and get some nice price winners. This is, as you know, live and interactive. If you're watching at home right now, like that stream, subscribe if you haven't already, and get involved in the chat. A few of you already had a half-decent day. Matt Stevens, 99. Very small profit thanks to the first 2 winners. Lovely. I think that's the first 100% positive comment, Stevens, you've put in the chat. I love it. Keep it going. There we go. Devo is on Dysart Enos as well. Whoosh! One of the winners in the bumper at the end. She was very impressive for Fergal O'Brien, who could have a good day tomorrow. But let's get our panel introduced, shall we? And not to rub salt in the wound, poor Kealy, but there's a Shishkin scarf right here on the desk. And, well, I mean, he was very impressive today, assuming, of course, you didn't really fancy the second.
Hey, yeah, well, I had a few quid on a Hoy Senior. It wasn't a horrific result. Yeah, the one thing about Shishkin is even when he's not going well, even when he's not jumping well, and there was times during that race where he didn't look like he was going well, he always tries his heart out, doesn't he? And it's a great attitude that he's got. And he just put his head down and he won, and he deserved to win. It was, it was a fantastic race, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. We had some cracking finishes today, didn't we? I mean, obviously we were saying yesterday, smallish fields and struggling to find really confident bets.
Yeah,
but the
I
racing
wasn't.
Was good.
It's a funny one really, because I think I tipped 3 of the first 4 winners, or say whatever if you include Conditional, 5 of the first, 4 of the first 5. But they were like tiny bet races for me. I didn't put any of them in the paper. The only one I actually put in the paper was a Hoy Senior, because I don't, I'm more likely to have a bigger bet on a 14 to 1 shot than I am on a 2 to 1 shot or a 5 to 4 shot. But they all won. It was good fun watching. I didn't really fancy anything at all. I fancy loads tomorrow, so it's all going to go pear-shaped tomorrow, isn't it?
Well, or this could be the day, Keels. This could be the day. Tom Segal, good evening to you, and entertaining stuff today. What was your personal highlight?
Personal highlight? I had 3 bets today. All of them jumped the last in front. All of them smashed into the last, and all of them got beaten. So personally, I didn't have any highlights. But in terms of the action on the track, Constitution Hill is always going to be the star attraction every time he runs his knees. Totally different class to any hurdler I've seen for donkey's years. So he was the highlight. The low light was Douglas Talking getting collared after the last, and Hoy Senior getting collared after the last. But there we go. Yeah. I'm surely not as annoyed as Lucinda Russell at this stage.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing is with Aintree as well. Often it's one of those tracks that they kind of range up in behind, and actually the ones who've kicked on for home keep on going. But it was quite the opposite today.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a short run from the last to the line that normally you jump the last and you're home and hosed. Wish that had been the case today, for sure, because it had been a much more profitable one. But still, they ran well. You can't make them win. And I thought it was a great race. Shishkin, we've all been saying for donkey's years he needs to run in over 3 miles. I think he's getting on a bit now, so whether he can win a Gold Cup with Galopin Champs around, I doubt, but he should have been running in it this year. I think we all said it, and no one listened, but there we go. Not beating the Ryanair. Good. Now we can go to the Gold Cup next time, and we can see what he's really made of.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was speculative talk. Are we going to see Constitution Hill and Shishkin in a Gold Cup next year?
See, I don't get that. I mean, what's wrong with hurdlers? You know what I mean? I like hurdlers more than chasers, if truth be told. And so I hope they keep him around for another year, try and win another champion hurdle, if truth be told. He can go check. He's still relatively young. Plenty of time in front of him. So I'd like to see him stay over hurdles for another year. I just love watching him. I think he's just a total breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I mean, some of those leaps that I mean they're not even jumps, are they? They're just kind of casual steps over the hurdles. It's just they're so smooth that he's from one side to another in the blink of an eye. Yeah,
and he's just got such quick feet, isn't he? He's like watching, Messi, isn't he? He's got incredible feet. He just dances over those hurdles. It's fantastic to watch. I'd love to see him stay hurdling for another year. I don't see any reason for him to go chasing just yet.
Okay, David Stevens, what was your personal highlight today? If you had one, I heard off air that you didn't have a bet, so maybe that was it. Not losing any money.
Yeah, it turned out to be not a difficult day to find winners typically, though, so probably got it wrong once again. Look, it was Cheltenham all over again when the Irish won the first 2 races. Banbridge and Zenter only just, it's got to be said. Hearts go out to the connections of the second, because I think they thought they'd won and celebrated accordingly. Banbridge was our price boost, although incredibly ended up the 2-1 that we boosted him to last night, despite being well tipped by the 2 gents next to me. And then Nicky Henderson took over, of course, with Shishkin, well backed again, as it turned out, ahead of the bowl, and Constitution Hill doing what Tom just said. He's different class to everything around at the moment. He's 4-6 for next year's Champion Hurdle. He's 7-4 for next year's Arkle. Listening to Nicky Henderson afterwards, I would wager quite heavily that he'll be staying over hurdles for another year, like Tom wants to see. And as for Shishkin, he's 5-1 for the King George, and I think that's going to be very much the target. So that was today. In terms of tomorrow's price boost, Jerry Colombe in the first. Odds on, he's now 8-11, but for the next hour, duration of this live show, 5-4, up to 20 quid. So see if we can get another price boost in as well.
Lovely stuff. Jerry Colombe is 5-4 out from 10-11 to win tomorrow's opener. And I believe you're going to, after this show, you're going to the Winchester till it all blows over. Is that right, David Stevens? Do you? I don't know if you get the... I don't know. I'm just waiting for someone to get a reference that I make, but no?
No.
No idea.
The Winchester Club was... The Winchester Club was in Minder, wasn't it? Half the day.
No, I was going for a Shaun of the Dead reference. It's with the white shirt and the tie, but never mind. Anyway, let's move on, shall we? We'll get stuck into tomorrow's cards. I'll send.
Is that
David.
a film?
Is it? It is a film, Keels. Yes.
Is it worth watching?
It is worth watching. Yeah. If you put ITV2 on, it's on every 6 hours, I think, pretty much. So, so it's always
Cult stuff.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay.
Anyway, from zombies to the Racing Post Members Club before we get stuck into Aintree tomorrow. Okay, let's get stuck into day 2 of Aintree then. Like I said, we've got some really big fields to come, but not necessarily in the opener, where we have another short price favourite for a novice chase. And Jerry Colombe, well, we've seen an unlucky loser today, Shishkin, get his just rewards. And many people thought Jerry Colombe was very, very unlucky at Cheltenham, closing down the real whacker with every inch, but didn't quite get there, and it's 4-5 to make amends this time out. But he's up against Bron, who was also in that race. Finished third, was swept aside, but he's got improvement to come. Complete Unknown, to a certain extent, is that, after that easy win last time out, 11-2. Gallia de Lito is 12-1 for the Skeltons. Thomas Darby, what year is this? 16-1. And Shollock Jack is 40-1, also a Skelton runner. In and out for sure, that horse tilting at windmills, you might say, but he does have quite an engine when he's on a going day. But Jerry Colombe is 4-5. Gordon Elliott and Davy Russell here. Obviously, Davy got a bit of stick at Cheltenham, but it was Jordan Gainford who got a bit of stick from the punters on this one. A lot of people, Keel, said Jerry Colombe should have won that Brown Advisory. Do you agree? And will he follow up tomorrow?
Oh, it's possible. He very nearly did. I mean, when a short price favourite gets beat, there's always someone around to blame the man on top, isn't there? So I'm not that convinced. But he may have been a little bit unlucky. But you know, he ran a fine race. He's the horse to beat. Part of me wanted to take him on because the ground was definitely good today, and he's a saddler maker who definitely wants softer ground than that. But you go down the field and you look at them; they all want softish ground, don't they? And that's the issue. Now we've got questions about the weather as well. Looked at the Met Office; they say less than 5% chance of rain all day. I've got a new app called Windy on my phone, which I'm told is very good, and it's forecasting about 8 or 9 mil. With satellite pictures to boot, so who knows? We'll have to wait and see. I was impressed with Complete Unknown at Kempton. I thought he could give him a race if he gets the 3 miles. He was obviously put in his place by Gallia de Lito earlier in the season, but I don't think that was his running. And like I said, that Kempton run was quite impressive, so I'd put him up as the danger, I think, but he might want soft ground too.
Okay, there we go. What was the app called again?
Windy.
Windy.
Just Windy.
All right, okay. Weather app, I presume.
Weather app, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, very well. Thanks. You learn something new every day. Films and apps, and who knows? We might have a winner or two as well. Jerry Colombi's 4 to 5 then for the Mildmay tomorrow, Tom. Now, again, whether he was an unlucky loser or not, the one thing in the back of my mind about this horse, if we're going to a flatter, sharper track, and he only seems to get going in the closing stages of his race. Is there a possibility that it could play against him, or will it work out today that actually the horses who are jumping last in second get into top gear and go on to score?
I don't know. I mean, if he was mine, I'd make the running. The first thing I do is there's no front runners there. Gallia and Lito, I suppose, could make the running, but she wants bottomless ground. So whether she's quick enough, I don't know. Thomas Darby's a hold-up horse. I don't know what they're going to do with Shola Jack. Complete Unknown's always been hold up, and so has Bron. So if it was me, I'd keep things simple. I'd get out in front. I'd jump. And if that's what they do, I think he'll win. If they try and muck about with him and sort of play, you know, I'm a clever clogs and sort of sit in behind, then anything can happen around Aintree, especially on good ground. So I think he's by far the best horse. I think he probably should have won. But saying that would be sort of taking, you know, going against the real whacker, who's such a brilliant jumper that, I think he would have. It's just hard to beat horses that jump as well as he does around Cheltenham. So whether he would have won, I don't know. But I think he's much the best horse. I don't fancy Bron. Complete Unknown is the danger, I think, because he is a complete unknown over fences. Funnily enough, he was really good in the EBF final, wasn't he? And then he was good at Boss Lass. He made up ground on a decent horse really quickly. I think you can forget the Warwick run because that was bottomless ground. I think he'll be fine on the ground personally, Complete Unknown. So he'd definitely be the danger. And Thomas Darby was a bit of a revelation last time back over fences. I know he's getting on a bit, but that wasn't a bad race against Stuart Crawford's horse. If it was very fast, Jerry Colombe didn't like it, then maybe him. But I think it's all about Jerry Colombe. Hopefully Davy Russell will get him out front, and if he does that, I think he'll win.
Just to go back to Bron, because you kind of skipped over Bron there a little bit, but I know he's been beaten by the favourite twice, but one was on chasing debut and one was last time out where he travelled really well. And again, he's an inexperienced horse. He's a 6-year-old. He's from the Mullins stable, of course. You know, they haven't sent many over, but you know, Zenta, Sharjah, Sam Roy, they all ran big races today. Why don't you fancy Bron?
I just think he's the archetypal one. I thought he had a really hard race. I thought he finished out on his feet because he was put into it a long way out. He was quite keen, I thought, in the early stages. He jumped perfectly well. I just think he's the one that, of all those there, I think he's the one least likely to run his race. I mean, I think you just don't know. Of course, you just don't know. But Stage Star had a hard race, and we all saw what happened to him. I think the way I look at it is always try and work out which horses finish tired. You know, I mean, those 2 mile races, you know, your Zentas of this world, they don't actually have that hard a race because they're only running for a few furlongs. But Bron was out on his feet at the end of the 3 miles, staying chase and softish ground. So I don't know. He's the one I'd want to take on at the prices for sure. I think it's Jerry Colombe's to lose, but I do like that Complete Unknown as a horse. I think he's a national horse of the future for sure.
Okay, there we go then. Jerry Colombe is 4 to 5 here, David. Like I said, we've got that price boost. Anything else to throw into the mix?
No, not really. I think it's all been said. I think he is the best horse in the race. I don't know if the form of the Nichols runners today would be of any concern. I mean, Stage Star well beaten, and the mare in the bumper was beaten a long way as well. But Complete Unknown, I mean, beaten by Gallia de Lito. She in turn was well beaten by 2 of these in the Brown of Iris. I think it all comes down bit like today with Banbridge, I think it all comes down to the obvious one, and that obvious one is Jerry Colombe.
Okay, there we go. Destiny Sound says Galli Delito beat Complete Unknown by 13 lengths. Why double the price? I think it's a fair question, really. Again, maybe ground.
I think she definitely wants bad ground as bad as you can get. I think Dan Skelton said that as well. So,
yeah.
I think she might be pulled out.
She could be pulled out. Yeah, I was just about to say that, Tom. Yeah.
I guess it's frustrating when you've got a horse like this. You think there'd be loads of opportunities for him, but this season it's not been that way.
Yeah. We've had a strange winter and spring, haven't we?
Yeah, we have indeed. Okay, so angles in the first, Keels.
Yeah. I'm probably not going to have a bet in a race, but if there's a danger to the Fav who may not like the ground, it'll be complete unknown for me.
Okay, and Tom.
Yeah, well, I'd like Jerry Colombe to win because I think he's a really, really good horse going forward. I think he's a Gold Cup horse without a shadow of a doubt. I'm not sure he's Galopin des Champs class, but I think he can finish around the rest of them for sure. So I'd like him to win. Complete unknown is the danger.
Okay, I quite fancied Bron, but they're always in the back of my mind. Every time, Tom, you completely dismiss horse I fancy. I think, well, we'll see, and then you turn out to be right. So that's fair enough. David, what about you?
Jerry Colombe shortening all the time now, just gone 8 to 11, so 5 to 4, of course, for the duration of the show. And yeah, I think the favourite will win.
Okay, let's move on then to the 220 at Aintree. 2.5 miles the distance for this handicap hurdle. 22 of them running, and some old friends in here indeed, with various pieces of Cheltenham form represented. Of course, we've got the Coral Cup represented by the likes of Camprond and Good Risk at All and Captain Conby. We've got the Martin Piper in there as well, with Buddy One and No Ordinary Joe. Harry Derham could be a big day for him with Dargianini. Plenty of other interesting horses, but it's 5 to 1 Campron, Dargianini 8 to 1, Fenacross 10s, Buddy 1 10s, No Ordinary Joe 10s, Good Risk at All 11s, Captain Combi 11s, Playful Saint is 14 to 1, and then bigger prices the rest. Plenty of others coming to this in good nick as well. Jungle Jack for Donald McCain is a 20 to 1 shot, might have a squeak. Nelson looks very well handicapped. Harbour Lake for the Inform Alan King. So plenty of horses in here with a chance. Normally I'd come to Keels for a big handicap hurdle, but I think he's probably still licking his wounds about Camprond a little bit. So I'll come to you first, Tom Segal. Plenty of Cheltenham form and offer. And then we've got that Harry Derham runner in between, who's actually does have Aintree form from a novice a few years ago that worked out very well indeed. So it's a cracking race.
Yeah, I think it's good as any those handicaps at Cheltenham. I think it's as good as the Coral Cup, isn't it? I think it's an absolutely cracking race. Camprond not only broke Keels' heart, I think it was another one of those that jumped the last one in front and didn't win for me. Camprond, the drier the ground, the better he is. I think we make too much of the ground for him because he's twice won well in the Commonwealth Cup on softish ground. I think he prefers better ground, but I think he's all right on all ground. At the time, I was cursing Aidan Coleman for going too soon, but having watched it again, I think he probably gave him a very, very good ride and was just unlucky he just hit the last. A bit like Ahoy Senor and Douglas. Did you get my drift here? Did you get my theme of horses smashing into the last? It's driving me mad.
I mean, to be fair, mate, I don't share it at Aintree, but I had two of these. I backed No Ordinary Joe and I backed Camprond. And coming into the home straight, I'm thinking, here we go. We're onto a couple of winners here. Yeah, long odds on in running and get beat quite comfortably in the end at the line.
Yeah. You mean like today? They weren't like beaten short head. I mean, Camprond was beaten the neck or so, but they weren't unlucky by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just saying it's frustrating, but I think he's going to run really well again. I think the thing about these sort of horses that don't come on from Cheltenham or regress from Cheltenham, I think the sort of younger novice horses that are sort of trained to peak for the day sort of can regress. But I think, as we saw in the Irish National, where they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think these hard-knocking handicappers, I'm not too worried about them coming on from Cheltenham. We've had 4 weeks, and I think Camprond's going to go really well. It's just a difference in price now. I mean, he was 20 to 1, wasn't he, at Aintree? He's gone up in the weights, and now he's 5 to 1. I think this is just as good a race, really. There's plenty in there you can fancy. I think that the drying grounds probably have gone against Good Risk at All and Playful Saint and horses like that. Didn't quite get the money for Fenacross today. I see lots of people in the paper are tipping that up. I thought he jumped so badly, had taken a big risk on his jumping. It was the first time he had a serious race in the Supreme. He just smashed into every hurdle. So if he jumps, he's definitely got a chance, Fenner Cross, because he beat Dear Mark and some good horses in novice hurdles. Worried about his jumping. Darganini, yes, the only thing I'd say about him, he's shot up the handicap for winning lesser races. Now he's got to win a good one, and he's relatively short price. He's the sort of horse I thought there are loads you can fancy. I sort of fell for Captain Conby in the Coral Cup, and I think I'm probably going to fall for him again, simply because I think he was too keen. He was way too keen, and he was ridden too prominently. I think they're going to drop him out tomorrow and sort of come with a longer run. I think the drier ground will suit him. I think the drop back of a furlong will suit him. And coming into the straight last in the Coral Cup, I thought it was between him and Camprond, and then he sort of fell in a hole. But I think he can go well again. And I'm a big. We said it yesterday. Fergal O'Brien at this meeting is someone I always have a look at, and I'm a big fan of Pull Again Green in this. He was a good novice hurdler last year, well handicapped on his novice hurdling form. Won at Cheltenham by miles. He then started chasing this year. Didn't really take to it. Came back after a wind up at Kempton last time, but he is useless right-handed. So for him to run as well as he did that day on ground that was bad and at a track where he wouldn't have enjoyed it, I think he's going to go really well tomorrow. We saw what Fergal did in the last first and fourth in the bumper. Pretty sure this will have been his target for some time. He's down the bottom of the weight. He's got Liam Harrison taking a few more pounds off as well. And I think 2.5 miles on good ground is perfect for him. So they'd be my two, Captain Combi and Pull Again Green. But there's loads in there, and I'm sure Keels is going to come up with a couple of different ones. But I think it's a great race. Really looking forward to it so far. I love races like that.
Yeah, it does look an absolute cracker. I mean, so far, Tom, I think basically either me or you is going to have a good day tomorrow, and it can't be both of us by the sounds of things. Because, I think Darjanini is really fascinating. I know he's got up in the weights, but every piece of form is absolutely bomb-proof. And I look back, I thought, how's he going to go on the track? And his second run, beating at odds on behind Strawfan Jack, who ran today in Grade 1 company. Back in third was Mackenberg, who's rated 140 plus. Fugitive was tailed off. Every horse he runs against is rated higher, and I thought he was fascinating, Keels. But can you throw
he's fascinating. He was the one at the head of the market that I liked. I mean, obviously, I fear Camprond. The thing about Camprond is last year, he, having got beaten in the Coral Cup, he went to Ireland, but he'd actually went to Ireland and got dropped by the handicapper. So he was off a £3 low weight, so he's £6 higher than he was then, having risen for his win at Cheltenham. And the other thing, I looked at this race, the last 9 run-ins of this race, if you ran at Cheltenham, you got nowhere near the lead. You got nowhere near the front. 6 of the last 9 runners didn't even run at the festival. The other 3 that did, 2 of them unseated, one of them being Langadan, of course.
Langadan got
and I think Clondor Kempfer was 14th or something in the Coral Cup. So it's one of those races where, you tend to have a hard race in those 2.5 mile, 3 mile handicap hurdles, don't you? If you're up there, because they really do go hell for leather, and they go at it a long way out. So my angle was to try and play horses that either weren't in close contention or didn't run. So Darjanini was the one at the top of the weights that I liked, but I came down at much bigger prices because I can't resist having a bet at big prices. On the 2 mares in the race, Molly Ollie's Wishes and Martello Sky. Now, Molly Ollie's Wishes was only 11th in the Martin Pipe, but if you want to watch that race again, she moved quite sweetly onto the leaders, jumping 2 out. And okay, she didn't pick up coming up the hill at all. But I don't think Cheltenham was a track, and 2, she did get knocked off her stride by Mai Tai, who swung wide with her.
It felt a bit like, I thought, one of those rides where all the energy's getting used up in the wrong point. She came from the back, got to the front, and faded.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I thought she actually ran better than her finishing position suggests, and I thought she might go well back on this track. She actually ran really well here once, I think, in a race that against better horses. And this is only her second run in a handicap in ages. The Martin Pipe was her first. I think she's dropped down the weights. She was rated 145, 46 or something at one point. She's down to 137 now. And on the same marker, that is Martello Sky. Now, this pair were first and second in the listed mares hurdle at Wetherby earlier in the season. And Martello Sky is another one who's dropped down the weights despite having run fairly respectably. And it was quite interesting because obviously Bryony Frost has been claimed by Paul Nicholls to ride Irish Hill, but they've gone for Rachel Blackmore instead, so I'm certainly not going to complain about that. She's got form that makes her look reasonably well handicapped off a mark of 137. This is her first run in a handicap since she won one at Cheltenham, a Class 2, off the same mark, I think it was, as well, last season. So again, 2 massive prices. I have also had a sneaky few quid on Tom's one, Pull Again Green, but I just, it's just a case I'm not going to tip that many in the paper.
I was going to say,
I actually said in the paper, I mean, if you wanted me to list the horses I thought about backing on the Friday, you'd need another page. And then he was definitely one of them. Darjanini was another, but I've settled down on Molly Ollie's Wishes and Martello Sky.
Yeah, just looking, Martello Sky's only ever run in 2 handicaps, and she's won both of them.
Yeah.
And she's back down to 137.
Yeah.
So she's
I mean, most of her
handicapped.
form is against mares, isn't it? But she is very, she is temptingly handicapped, put it that way.
Yeah, no, fair enough. There's some appreciative noises going on. I don't know if that's David agreeing with a couple of selections. I mean, it's highly likely you did. We mentioned 14 horses, but which ones stood out for you, David?
Kills will be delighted to know that Martello Sky is on my list as well. Triple suit, it's got form on all sorts of ground. First run in a handicap for a long time, as Kill said. And I thought that obviously the Rachel Blackmore jockey booking was fascinating. So Martello Sky for me. We are 5 places each way in this very, very competitive handicap. And JP McManus has a couple, including, of course, the favourite. He was in the winners' enclosures the day after Zenta. And our next price boost is JP McManus to have the winner of this race. Was 3-1, is now 4-1. But Martello Sky, sorry, Kills, she's on my list as well.
Yeah,
I'm not superstitious, mate. Even though you are a Bok, we'll be all right.
Plenty of selections on the chat as well. Although Off-World says Keel's lost the plot with Molly Ollie's Wishes, but Kevin Hasnip agrees with Martello Sky. Campron's a terrible price, says Off-World. Damn, Tom's tipped Pull Away Green, says Destiny Sounds. There goes the price. You
can bet now,
That's true, you can bet now, yeah. Maybe take the 25-1 now before that paper comes out. Although admittedly, in a race like this, like I said, between a lot of us, I mean, what haven't we mentioned? That should win. Good Risk at All, that's the one. I bet that at Cheltenham, nobody's mentioned it. Certainty. But you, Keels, just remind us. Molly Ollie's Wishes and Martello Sky.
I backed Molly Ollie's Wishes and Martello Sky.
Okay. Tom?
I didn't diss Darjanini. I think he's got a very good chance. It's just not my type of bet. Ross going up in the weights, as I said. But I get your working for sure. I think he's got a good chance. I like Captain Combi and Pull Again Green.
Okay, there you go. Captain Combi and Pull Again Green. Yeah, I'll go with Darjanini, which has now got the Tom Segal seal of approval. All right, David Stevens, You're going with Martello Sky?
Martello Sky, I'm not sure we did mention No Ordinary Joe, JP's other runner in this, second in the Martin Pipe. Wouldn't be surprised if we had more to come for Nicky Henderson. But Martello Sky each way for me. Okay,
I mean, I thought this was a good race. Now, I cannot wait for this to jump off now because it looks like an absolute blinder. We've talked it up a treat for the Big Field Handicap Hurdle. Next up, we've got a Big Field Novices Hurdle. 14 of them running for the top Novices Hurdle. Found a 50 is 7-2 with Lucia. If you found a 50, tends to help to put it in the pockets at 4-1. Maybe for 50, you could go to Holland back at 10-1. There's no looking back if you do go to Hall at 10s. Altobelli is 10s. Timorous 12. Strong leader 18-1. Plenty of others in with chances as well. Pembroke. Of course, for the Skeltons, it wouldn't be the first time a horse got beaten a Cheltenham handicap and came on to win this race. Rhuboard as well, Colonel Harry for Jamie Snowden, and Rare Edition, who ran a bit of a stinker at Cheltenham in the Supreme, but is down in grade here. So it's not a handicap hurdle, Keels, but it is an absolute blinder. We've got plenty of form lines in abundance here. The Mayor's Novice, of course, the Supreme, and then those horses skipping the festival, like the one I'm particularly excited about, Holland back.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. We've got horses that ran at Cheltenham but didn't really threaten to win. Neither Lucia or In the Pocket ever looked like being, massive threats there. They were both fourth. They both ran respectable races. But there's probably a standard that isn't that high to be running scale of. So you've got these unexposed horses, and I'm really trying to give the likes of Hullenbach and Altobelli a chance, because you've mentioned Hullenbach. He's been very impressive in what he's been doing. Altobelli was almost a furlong clear or two out at Carlisle last time. I mean, I know he didn't beat much, but I mean, to get that far clear in any sort of race takes some doing. But then I just got reminded of the fact that the Supreme Novices Hurdle, the first 8 home were Irish.
Yep.
And therefore I thought, well, if I'm going to back something at a big price, what else is running there from Ireland that didn't run at Cheltenham? And we come to No Looking Back, and I think he's a fascinating runner for Oliver McKinnon. He's run 3 times over hurdles. He won his maiden hurdle. He then ran in a match against Brazil, who won the Fred Winter, and despite jumping terribly, he still managed to win it. Brazil was long as on shot. And the next time he was second at Irish Point. Now, Irish Point didn't really perform at the Dublin Racing Festival, but he'd run in a close photo with Marine Nationale the time before that, and he won this graded race by a length and a quarter. But No Looking Back was really chasing him down, and was giving him what, £9. I think that's a massive run, and I think that gives him, he's shortened because he was 16 this morning, but I still think it gives him a way better chance than the 10-1 that he is now.
The yard are on fire.
The yard's on fire. I had 3 winners from their last 5. The trainer had a 50-1 winner of the Bowl in 2012 called Follow Your Plan.
He did.
And he's only had 1 runner at Aintree since. It was a 66-1 shot tailed off 10 years ago. So this is his first runner at the meeting for 10 years. Looks like he's got a decent horse on his hand. He's in flying form and it's a double-figure price, so that was good enough for me.
I mean, yeah, it sounds very good when you put it like that, doesn't it? No Looking Back then at 10-1 here, but yeah, absolutely wide open. But yeah, we'll start with Hull and back with you, Tom, because I remember we both put this on the old tracker after that Warwick run. But I mean, that form isn't fantastic, but all the horses he's beaten the runs before that are really rock solid form yardsticks, and like you said, the yard are in good nick.
Hull and back. It's named after the boys are from Hull, aren't they? So it's named after the old Del Boy thing, isn't it? Where he went to Hull and back. One of the shows there. So I was expecting loads of your very amusing jokes, Ross, but you clearly missed out on the Hull and back pun. But there we go. We'll move on.
It's the only Fools and Horses is it's too mainstream for my references. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry.
But this time tomorrow, Tom, we're going to be millionaires if this wins. I tell you.
If this wins, we might be. Yeah, I backed this anti-post. I backed it at 20-1 when the text came out. I'm a big fan of him when he beat Nemean Lion at Haydock, but I thought it was even better at Warwick. As I say, this would have been his plan. Fergal O'Brien deliberately missing Cheltenham, as I said many times, and I'll big fan of Fergal O'Brien at this meeting, as we saw in the bumper today. I think Hull and back's going to go really well. However, I've deserted him tomorrow for exactly the same reasoning as Teals. They just had the first 8 in the Supreme. They just dominated the Alpha Bartlett. I just think their form was probably miles better than ours, the Irish, obviously. And as Kealy said, No Looking Back's form with Irish Point. I mean, Irish Point was beaten ahead in the Royal Bond. He was second in the Lawlers of Naas Grade 1. So it's a properly good Grade 1 horse. He didn't run very well at the Dublin Racing Festival, but he was never really put in the race. So I think that could be, you can rate that as much as you like, really, giving him £9. I just think he's going to run really well. I didn't like In the Pocket after his race at after the Supreme run. I thought he needs to go up in trip. Lucia ran disappointingly, I thought, in the Mayor's Hurdle. Round the 50 got beat by a horse that ran in the Albert Bartlett next time. So I thought it was quite a good race to have a crack in. I thought Hull and back is going to go well, but prices they were, but No Looking Back was the one to be on.
Okay, thanks, Dave. We'll go from the top Novices Hurdle then. Over to Dave. What do you make of this? Any extra places? Any price boosts? Any opinions? Anything that you fancy here?
Yes to the extra places, 4 places instead of 3. Yes to the price boost, and this will be one I think will go down well. An Irish winner of this race was 11-10, now 6-4. But all of that said, I'm probably going to be a bit of a plonker and go for Outer Belly, trained by Harry Fife, 3 from 3. I think Kills will confirm he got quite a decent RPR for his win last time up. I say he clearly is taking on the Irish here, but I'll stick with Harry Fry's one at around 10-1. As I say, 4 places each way here.
Okay. Lovely stuff. There you go. An Irish trained horse to win the 255 is 6-4, out from 11 to 10. As for the chat fancies, fancy Pembroke and Rare Edition, says Eden JS, and Darren Colon said something about yes, I probably should. Yeah, it's thoroughbred racing, not trotter racing. I don't know, it doesn't quite work, but we'll go with it. Strong leader each way, so Stevens 99 as well, and in the pocket is the nap of the card for Duncan Evans. But Keels, what we're going with?
Yeah, no looking back, hopefully.
Okay, lovely stuff. And Mr. Segal?
Yeah, I've backed Hullen back and no looking back.
Okay.
Lots of backs.
Yeah, I'm starting to really, get to the bottom of how you pick horses here. David?
Altabelli each way for me.
Okay, Altabelli it is, and yeah, I'll go with Hull and back. And if it wins, I'll spend the winnings on a ticket to the Deep, which is of course Hull's premier attraction. The 3:30 at Aintree is the Melling Chase, and we've got 7 of them lining up here. Pic D'Orhy and Fakir Duderie are 9-4 joint favourites. Hitman 5-1, French Dynamite 8-1, Fugitif is 8-1, Miller's Bank is 9-1, and Manila Drama is the 22-1 outsider of the bunch here. And there's been a bit of money for Pic D'Orhy, but of course the one to beat here is Fakir Duderie, who even when he gets beat, you start to think. Sometimes I look at this horse and I think, oh, a bit disappointed actually on that occasion. And then you look at the horses that actually beat him, and you've got your Shishkins and your Galloping de Champs and your Alahos, and it turns out that if Fakir comes up against an absolute worldie, Keels, he gets beat, but he pretty much puts everything else to the sword.
Yeah, he does. But
It's a book coming.
But he wouldn't have won that race at Turles in January had Owen Couleur stood up, and Owen Couleur is not a worldie.
Okay.
So I think I think it's fairly clear that he's not quite as good, or he hasn't been this season quite as good as he was the previous season. Whether that's enough to get him beat is another matter, but I just think he's been a little bit below par. And I think Paul Nicholls has got 2 horses with a good chance of beating him. Pic D'Orhy obviously finished ahead of him at Ascot when the pair was second and third to Shishkin, who ran away with that race. So he's got a chance. He jumped really, really well that day. And he's just really taken off this season. Like quite often these Paul Nicholls chasers do, that start chasing really early and then they suddenly start to mature when they get a little bit older. He's taken off, and I've got this blind spot with Hitman anyway.
Yeah.
So I'll end up backing him because he's the bigger price out of the pair. But he does like Aintree. He was obviously second to Fakir Duderie in this last year. Was only 6-year-old then, a year older, maybe a year better. He thought he ran perfectly well in the Ryanair, finished third. And
kind of got the run of the race, I thought, though. He's in a lovely position.
Yeah, it's possible, but I mean, he's a traveller, so he's often going to get the run of the race.
Yeah.
He might not find much. I don't actually think there's much wrong with his heart, to be honest. But a lot of people called him a few names, but he doesn't. He might not find too much, but he does go well here. It was a good weight carrying performance when he just got touched off in the old Roan as well this season. So I think he'll run well. I think there's a chance of getting the favourite beat. I don't think he's bomb-proof. Again, not a race I'd be massively confident in, but I will take Fakir Duderie on.
Okay, there we go, taking the Joseph O'Brien runner on. Of course, Mark Walsh was in good nick today. Joseph O'Brien, of course, also with Banbridge. So do you think the Fakir Duderie has kind of left his best days behind him, or could he bounce back at one of his favourite tracks, Tom?
Well, of course he could bounce back, but I don't think it's just Keels that thinks he's not putting his best foot forward, because he's got the cheek pieces on for the first time. Yeah. So I think Connections don't think he's been in the same form this year as he has, and I'm of that opinion myself as well. I just don't think he's looked as sprightly or as lithe or as any of those sort of. It just hasn't looked as slick as he has in the past. So for me, he's one to take on. Of course, he can win. He's got the best form, but I'm slightly surprised Harry Cobden chose Pic D'Orhy over Hitman. I'm with Keels on that. I thought Hitman had the better form of the two. I thought he ran really well at Cheltenham, despite the track and the ground probably being against him. I think he'll go well. But the one I really like is French Dynamite. I think before the meeting started, I thought the ground was going to be too soft for him, but I think the ground's drying out quick. And if Keels' special weather app doesn't work, it's magic, and the ground stays quick, I think he's going to go really well, because I think they might make the run-in with him or be up there with him. And I think he ran really well for a long way in the Ryanair too. So I think it's a much more open race than the prices suggest. I'm not in love with either of the two at the top of the market. I think I do like Hitman round that Aintree. I think Lorcan Williams has jumped on a good one there, but I'd slightly prefer the price as French Dynamite.
Okay, French Dynamite. Yeah, it's an 8-1 shot here. It is a weird race, isn't it? I mean, you even look at Miller's Bank won the Manifesto last year, beat it. I mean, Pic D'Orhy had a nightmare that day, and one's 9-1 and one's 9-4. I know it's because their seasons have been so different, but again, horses for courses and all that. It wouldn't massively surprise me to see him run a big race.
No, not at all. He had a wind up 2 starts ago as well, though, didn't he? I mean, it just looks like his season hasn't gone to plan. He could bounce back. Look, horses for courses, as you say, and I think Fugitive is not out of it either. I mean, he keeps going up the handicap, but it was a career best last time. Jevry, the horse that finished 4th in the plate, went on to run a cracker in the Irish National. He was giving a bit of weight to Seddon. Seddon's a pretty good horse now he's got his sort of jumping together and he's got into a rhythm. So wouldn't rule him out either. I think it's wide open. I just think it's just hard to find the one against the top 2 in the market, but no doubt I'll back 2 or 3 of them and watch Bakia Doodery win.
Yeah, that's not often the case in these kind of races. 2 for Gold, of course, also came out of the plate and won next time out as well. So that race is working out quite nicely, admittedly at a lower level. But who wins the Marsh Chase? Bakia Doodery, 40% of you very much disagreeing with the panel. 28% Pic D'Orhy, 19% Hitman, and 10% other here. If you are watching at home, of course, and you haven't liked the stream, please do so now and feed the hungry algorithm. As for people at home, Bakia Doodery bounces back, says Luke Salmon. As for the rest, Damien O'Hagan completely disagrees. Horse Life is going the other way, 100% Bakia Doodery. Grade 1 in name only, says Doghouse Riley. And Stakehead says Miller's Bank. He's not sure about that one either. So plenty of opinions, David. Come on, tell us you've got something. A 3rd place, perhaps? Let me have a look. It's all right. No, I've set you up to succeed, not to fail there. That's good.
Let's do a 3rd place each way, absolutely. And that very much brings in the likes of French Dynamite, who's really consistent and kind of threatened to win one of these big races for a while. Miller's Bank, bag of the course that he ran so well at a year ago. Of the front 2 in the betting, I'm slightly surprised they're joint favourites, given Pic D'Orhy was, 7 lengths ahead of Bakia Doodery's at Ascot. No reason why the JP McManus horse would reverse that. It's wide open, but with those 3 places each way, I would take a chance on Miller's Bank. And it is a bit of a chance, but I say he ran so well here a year ago. But we've got another price boost, and it's, 68% of the people that voted went for either one of the front 2. So either of those 2, reverse forecast, Pic D'Orhy and Bakia Doodery's was 5-2 is now 130.
Okay, there we go. And your selection, though, Keels, in this feature race,
I'm going to go Hitman because I've got a soft spot for him.
Okay, Hitman it is. Tom?
Probably French Dynamite. That's a push. Just slightly over Hitman, but I like them both.
Okay, there we go. And David?
I mean, of the front 2 in the market, I very much prefer Pic D'Orhy to Bakia Doodery's, but I would take a very tentative each way with those 3 places on Miller's Bank.
Yeah, I'm a little bit tempted just to chance him back to Aintree, but it does look on paper a bit of a nightmare race. But let's move on. We've got 3 more to go at Aintree on day 2. Starting off with a trip to the national fences for a bit of a taster. Over 2 miles and 5 furlongs here for the Topham. Ashtown Lad has already proven that he likes this test. He's 7-1. Jess Kealy's 8-1. Final orders is 10s with Horton Galores, Burrows Saint and Al Dancer. Il Rodotto is 12-1. Equus Dancer 14-1. Plenty of others who've been in good nick this season, including Opinianti, who's second last time out. Looks a hell of a lot better than it did at the time. Peter Bowen's got an informed horse. He loves a national fence winner, of course, always waning, and plenty of others in the past. Equus Dancers in there. Cooper's Cross at De Machine for Kerry Lee. Fantastic Cast could well bounce back as well after a disappointing run in very soft ground at Cheltenham, as you would expect for the Topham Keels. It's absolutely wide open. But the problem with this race is that we could talk for 20 minutes about this, and after 2 fences, you'd have a very different opinion.
Absolutely. It's one of those. He's really, really competitive. It's really, really hard. You need a good start, get into a decent position, etc. I wonder whether 2 mile 5 is on the sharp side for Ashdown Lad. I know he jumped really well around here when he won the Beecher, but You know, I mean, the ground is, you know, unless they stick some water on it, the ground is going to be quickening up. You know, or unless we get that rain, which may or may not come. I just have a feeling that it might be a little bit too quick for him. I was started off being all over Burrows Saint because I remember watching him skip round here in the National a couple of years ago with 4 to Vanilla Times and just not stay. And it was a bit of a similar to the sort of run that Live, Love, Laugh did when, and then 2 years later he came round here and turned the race into possession. But then I thought to myself, he hasn't done much since. He hasn't had much. He hasn't, you know, handicapper hasn't given him much back, and. Yeah, I just went off him a little bit. So I've gone for a couple of much bigger prices. I have backed Phoenix Way. I think Phoenix Way is very, very interesting because he's run 3 very, very good races this season and been dropped £2 for every single one of them. He was 4th to Fugitive at Chepstow on the start of the season when Fugitive was rated 133. He's obviously 153 now. He was then 4th again to Wilwood Doso and Fugitive in a big race at Cheltenham, which I don't think really suits him. And then he went well for a long way, as he always does when he runs at 3 miles, and didn't stay at Ascot behind Cap du Nord in a good race. He was sent off favourite for that race. And he looked all the way through the race as though he was going to win it, and then did what he normally does at 3 miles and didn't stay. Trainers put cheek pieces on, which surprised me a little bit because I don't think he's done anything wrong. But if they help, good luck. I think he's well handicapped. He's 5 times the price he was last time. Understandable given it's 31 a field, but I think he's a good price. And I think D Machine is a similar type in that, although he's won over 3 mile, I don't think he really gets it. And he didn't get it last time when 5th in the Skybet Chase at Doncaster, but he's run solid races again all season. He was unlucky to run into Zanza when Zanza was rated 130 something at his beloved Newbury on Cold Gold Cup Day in November, finished 2nd. Little bit below par at Cheltenham. I don't think Cheltenham's his track either. When he was 7th to Midnight River, although it certainly wasn't a bad run. And again, last time he didn't stay at Donny, but he generally jumps well, and I think 2 mile 5 is absolutely perfect for him. And again, he's down to a mark only £1 higher. He's been dropped a little bit season, only £1 higher than winning very easily from Man of the Mountain at Utoxeter last spring. So you know, they're the 2 for me. I could pick 8 in this and not get one in the first 6. It's that difficult, so but they'll do for me.
Yeah, we'll have to blanket bomb the play spot, I think, in this race.
Yeah, I've done that.
Yeah. Well, you got it up today, didn't you? A lot easier today, mind. But could pay a good whack tomorrow. Ashdown Lad 7-1. Plenty of Aintree horses in the bet in here. Ashdown Lad, Jesky, Lal Dancer as well. Burrows Saint. Are you excited about anything in this, Tom, or is it one of those races you think it's too hard to get properly stuck into?
Way too hard for anyone to work out this. It's like the cheesecake or the profiteroles. You know you shouldn't have them, but I know I'm going to have like 4 bets in this. I know I am, and I know I'm not going to come back losing because it's so hard. And I know what will happen after 3 fences. I think, why did I do that? I'm out the back, I've fallen, or I'm hampered, or I'm not liking it. It's the same as the National these days. I find them really, really hard. I don't have a way in to these races, so I find the only way I can is to do what everyone else used to do, and it's go for horses that have run well over the fences in the past. That brought me to the one Keels mentioned first, Burrows Saint. I don't think he's lost it as much as many people think he has. I thought he ran well for a long way. I watched the National back last year, and he was absolutely. I mean, if anything, he was keen. He was pulling. He was pulling when he came down at the chair, but he jumped the first 14 or so perfectly, brilliantly again, like he did when he was 2nd, when he was 4th in the National. As Keel says, he just reminds me of Live, Love, Laugh. I think they'll get out front and let him just bowl away, and we'll see what happens after them. He might not be well enough handicapped, but you could make a case for so many. I had a good look at Numitor for Heather Main, and very close to tipping him, but then I just thought, will he really get home? I had a good look at Auton Color. He's classy, jumps really quickly, but will he get home? He didn't get home at Cheltenham, and I just thought it was really, really hard. I literally could make a case for everything. I had a good look at Fantasticas down the bottom. He ran better in the pieces at Cheltenham last time in the Ultima. Il Rodotto ran in the plate. Paul Nicholls used to have a very good record with horses like him in the race. I could go on forever about all 30 of them. It's way too hard. I ended up on Burrows Saint, but I probably shouldn't have, and I probably should be saving my money for races I had actually got a chance.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, yeah, there's horses that you've mentioned loads of them, but there's other horses no one's mentioned that I thought had a chance. Baccio really likes the fence. He's clearly been aimed at this race, hasn't he? I mean, even you look at Topville Ben and you think, oh, this horse doesn't like the national fences, but one was in the national when he was. When he got pulled up after he was hampered by a fall, and one was in through mile 2 furlongs in soft ground behind Snow Leopardess, where he burst out into the lead and then got tired and fell. And that third to the Goffer back in February makes him look a bit of a big price at 33s or 50s or whatever he is. So yeah, it is wide open, David Stevenson. Like I said, it's the joy of the national fences, isn't it? Is going through the form, having a bet, and after 2 fences, knowing you've got no chance.
I mean, firstly, who knew that Tom Segal's weakness was profiteroles or cheesecake? Yeah.
He's more. I think he's more of a selection of sorbets, man. That's what I've got him down as.
I'm more of a trifle man myself. But back to this race, 6 places each way, and I think we're going to need all 6 of those. I like Geskiller Now Dancer from their Grand Sefton run, but bumped on one that hasn't run over these fences, and that's Equus Dancer, a winner last time. He hurdles. He chases, so I'm hoping the national fences will be fine for him. And he's trained by Peter Bowen, I think has won this race 5 times, around 14-1. But 6 places each way, notoriously tricky. I think we can all agree on that at least.
Yes, we can. We can indeed. Keels, just reiterate what you might be having a quid or 2 on.
Yeah, D Machine and Phoenix Way, both about 25s, I think.
Okay. Tom?
Well, hopefully there'll be some profiteroles and cheesecake around, so I won't have to get too stuck in. But I'll take a chance on Borough Saint bouncing back, but he's not a massive price.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, maybe just go out for a little bit of a walk to warm up for the dessert. But David, what are you going for?
Equus Dancer each way.
Okay, Equus Dancer it is. Yeah, slightly Baccio and Topville Ben, but again, it is. Yeah, there's that bell going off in the back of my mind that says, you know what? Watch and enjoy. Don't get involved. 2 more races to go, especially because we've still got a 3-mile Grade 1 Novice Hurdle to go through with 16 runners. This is much more like it from a personal perspective. Stay Away Phase 7-2, Absolute Notions 4-1, Maximilian 5-1, Iroko is 11-2, Grey Dawning 7s, Apple Away is 10-1, Blenkinsop 16, St Davy is 22-1, and that's just the ones on the top of your screen, of course. Likes of Twig for Ben Pauling, who often springs a surprise in these races. Michael Scudamore's got his horses in good nick. Mufasa could get involved. We've All Been Caught is suddenly a big price. Marble Sands for Fergal O'Brien. They are huge prices. And of course, Keels, this is the replica of the Albert Bartlett, which this year was, well, it was an absolute nightmare, wasn't it? I mean, turning to the bottom of the hill, you thought any of 8 or 9 could win. One ran through the rail late on, and 150-1 shots getting involved. I mean, if it's as tough as that, then...
Well, this is it. I mean, it is one of those races where you spend all season trying to work out what's going to win it, and then something wins it that you hadn't even thought of. And it was a bit unfair to Stay Away Faye, to be honest, but he'd only run twice over hurdles, and he had been beaten by Maximilian at Doncaster. But Paul Nicholls said beforehand he thought that he'd blame the jockey rather than the horse for that race at Donny, and Harry Colden got it right when it mattered, and he's really tough, isn't he, Stay Away Faye? So I think he deserves to be favourite. There's a horse in this race called Hurricane Bay, who was 16-1 in that Doncaster race, finished 3rd to Maximilian and Stay Away Faye. He actually traded at even money in running, and he's 40-1. So he's a big price. He's won a Mickey Mouse race since. He likes good ground, so if it doesn't rain, he might run well. It's one of those. I actually found this harder to make a decision on than the handicaps. So I think I came down on Apple Away in the end. Just going to think he's just improving. Is just improving. She's won very easy on the last couple of starts. But it's a bit of a guess for me. I went round and round in circles. Didn't really fancy much.
Yeah, I mean, it is really tough. Like I said, the Albert Bartlett and this race as well it's a rich vein of future winners. But essentially, again, they are future 3-mile chasers, Tom. So they're not necessarily being. This isn't their A game, isn't it? It'd be nice to win a Grade 1 over hurdles, but most of these, we're going to be looking at long distance Grade 1s at Leopardstown and Cheltenham in time over fences. So that makes it a little bit trickier.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, my only way in was I wanted to take on Stay Away Faye. I just thought that he had I was going to say it again, like a broken record. We had a very hard race, very different track, isn't it? On very different ground to what he. I did at Cheltenham. We saw what happened with Stage Star, so I wanted to take him on. I thought Absolute Notions must be right in there myself, because he's not the Irish 3 mile form. He's the Irish sort of 2.5 mile form. He was second to Good Land, wasn't he? I know Good Land didn't run brilliantly in the Ballymore, but I don't think that was necessarily his true running. So I think that he's going to stay 3 miles and be in it, but it's no great shakes. Iroko, I think, will love the trip. I think he's getting better all the time. I wouldn't rule him out. The 2 I had were, the 3 I was looking at, I ended up, I'm not sure I have about, was Grey Dawning, simply because he's a Skelton horse up in trip. I think he'll like the better ground a lot better. Kills his horse Apple Away simply because of the Lucinda Russell factor. Ahoy Senor, Brindisi Breeze. And, I think she's won this race a few times. She's very good with staying horses, so she was on the list. And my old friend Blinking Sock, who would have been the selection if I could have got any confidence about him being, in top form, because I think he had a problem in mid-season. He was due to run at Cheltenham and didn't, and then he sort of missed the season and waited for this. I think 3 miles will be no problem. And I think the way he sort of sighed through the mud to win on Shallow Hurdle Day was really impressive. The time was a lot slower than Hermes Allen and the mare that won the mare's race at Cheltenham, but he did come from miles back, and I did think he looked really good that day. So those were my 3 against the ones at the top of the market, because I wanted to really take them on. And I probably was going to end up on Grey Dawning simply because I thought he was the one with the most improvement left in him.
Okay, Grey Dawning a 7-1 shot for the Skeltons, and Blinking Sock. I mean, he's that classic type, isn't he? He'll be winning long distance Exeter handicap chases. He might run in a national or a Peter Marsh or something in the future. He's going to be a proper handicap chaser. And I mean, I say this is wide open, but the one that I couldn't get away from, guys, was Maximilian, who beat Stay Away Faye. Track should be absolutely spot on for it. It's a 3 mile point winner who's 2 runs over 3 miles have been absolutely rock solid. McCain and Hughes, Windot, flat track, skipped Cheltenham. I thought he was sure to go well, Maximilian, but you're looking at me like, move on. I've told you what I think.
Suggested will anyway, didn't it? Yeah. No, I mean, he's got a chance in it. Obviously got a very good chance.
Yeah. Okay, Maximilian for me. David Stevens for the penultimate race.
Well, I was in complete agreement with you and Maximilian, but if anyone saw the look that Keels was giving you there,
I was zoning out, to be honest.
That's worse. That feels worse. That feels like, Ross is talking. I'll stop listening. Yeah, fair enough.
I was like, I was anticipating the taste of the first pint of Guinness in the pub in about 10 minutes.
Yeah. Fair enough.
In that case, we'll keep talking. Utter contempt is better than zoning out. But I agree with everything you said about Maximilian. I know Paul Nicholls thought that the jockey messed it up and Stay Away Faye, and Stay Away Faye may well have improved dramatically. But let's see what Maximilian has got, and we'll sink or swim together on this one, Ross.
We will indeed. Maybe we'll have an armband each. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But the Sefton Novices Hurdle then. Keels, tell us what you fancy while I zone out.
I've forgotten what it was.
Yeah, fair enough.
Grey Dawning? I think I should have said Grey Dawning, actually. I actually quite like Grey Dawning. Is that right? I couldn't remember what I was tipping in the race when we got to it, because there's so many horses I looked at. I never think I'd come down to Grey Dawning. So, forget Apple Away, Grey Dawning.
Yeah. You okay, mate? You're all right. You're all right.
Sorry. Yeah, just ignore me for this race. I have no idea.
Yeah. Fair enough. That's the bit that's going to get clipped out, isn't it? Okay. I'm going to go with Maximilian. Tom, bring us back to earth.
I can't remember what I was gone for, Ross. What was it? I think Grey Dawning for me.
You don't forget anything, Tom. You do not forget anything, apart from how to leave the house, of course. Okay, let's go on to the last race at Aintree and the 5:15. This is more like it. A Conditional Jockeys and Amateur Riders Handicap Hurdle over 2 miles with 22 runners. We've got 2 minutes to go through them. Keels is back in the room. In theory, Go Dante 8-1, Nibiru 17-2, Paramount 17-2, Goth Cool is 9-1, JPR1 9-1, Blue King Doro 11s, Washington 12s, Knickerbocker Glory, surely that's Tom's favourite, is at 12-1, Soul Icon, Densworth's got to have a chance as well. You Can Tango for Ollie Murphy, running a good race last time out. Loads of them, Keels. Come on, do you want me to?
Well, Ollie Murphy's got a few, hasn't he? He's got a couple of first-time cheap pieces, Go Dante and Washington. I thought Washington myself was the stick out. In the race, he was third at 13-2 off a £3 higher mark last year to Hackaday Place. Had a really good season as a novice. You know, he was only beaten 2 lengths by I Like to Move It at Cheltenham. Was only beaten 1 length and a quarter by That's All Right Gino. We're talking about decent horses here. It couldn't seem to raise a leg first 2 starts this season, and I don't know what happened with him. The handicapper was reluctant to drop him very much, but he showed more, albeit when a 12-length second to Playful Saint on heavy ground at Leicester. Now Playful Saint was rated quite lowly then, and Washington's not a heavy ground horse, and he is. But he's had a break, and he's been pretty good off a break in his time. He's won first time out and twice and off a break, and you know, I just think he's well handicapped. He travelled really, really well in this race last year, and he's twice the price he was a year ago. Okay, there you go. And he'll do for me. He will do for you. Tom Segal, what will do for you in the closer?
Really hard. Like Nibiru a bit for Tony Martin after the Good Time Johnny at Cheltenham. I also like Paramount quite a bit. Bradley Roberts taking the 7 off. I know it was a sort of a Mickey Mouse race he won at Fakenham last time. It was a very valuable race, and I think a few the trainers have sort of targeted it, and he sort of ran right away from them. So I think the good ground will suit him. Was it a Mickey Mouse race, Tom? I mean, the second's absolutely gagged up since. And I know. I thought they just. I know. Yeah. What I meant by that was like 3 or 4 runners, wasn't there? But it was. I think it was 15 grand to the winner. I think it was more. I think it was more for that race on the same than the third in the county hurdle on the same day. So it was a very good spot from Charlie Longston and those that went for the 5-runner race. Yeah, I like Paramount. I think he's really pretty good, and I think that Bradley Robertson, I'm a big fan of his, taking 7 off gives him a really good chance. The drier the ground, the better he'll be too. I think the ground might have been a bit too soft for him at Fakenham. Yeah, I thought he looks like one of those horses that if it had all gone to plan a bit earlier, he could be running in graded races. So, but he's clearly a big horse. I think they probably had a few problems with him because he's taken a while to hit his stride. But yeah, in particular, at Doncaster and then at Fakenham last time out. I thought he was very impressive. So yeah, he's very interesting indeed. Paramount at 17-2. Throw one more at big price. I thought was a little bit interesting. That's Collingham, who I thought would appreciate these conditions. He unseated very early at Kelso last time out, but the jockey gets on well with him. He could be a big price. There he is, 28-1. Hopefully an extra place, so maybe that one could sneak into 5th at least. David, what do you got for us?
We certainly have got 5 places each way in this finale. JPR1 for the Tizzards had a choice of this race or the 2.5 mile handicap hurdle earlier on the card. They've gone for this one. Harry Kimber, plenty of experience. He's a horse that the team have always had in the highest regard. So JPR1 for me. Taunton winner last time, hoping he can build on that.
Okay, JPR1 is a 9-1 shot. Plenty of others chances here, a different kind for Devo, Blue King Doro for Rob Dixon, and Duncan Evans says punctuation wins this, period. Lovely stuff. I thought there was a question mark over him, but who am I to say? What are you closing out with, Keels?
Yeah, Washington for me.
Washington it is, and Mr. Segal?
Paramount for me.
Paramount it is. I'll agree with you on Paramount, a little bit on Collingham as well. And David Stevens?
JPR1 in the finale.
Okay, JPR1 in race number 7. We'll get the naps in a second after this.
Have you missed us? Well, I hope so, because Racing Post Live steams back into your living room on Grand National Saturday. Yes, this Saturday, we're back on air, 2 p.m. All the big races, Grade 1 action, handicaps coming your way before the National. The 40 runners do battle over those famous fences. Myself, Dave Orton, joined by this man. Don't give it away, Keels, but I'm sure you've got the 1, 2, 3, 4 for us.
Oh, I do fancy a couple for the National. You will have to wait and see. I'm looking forward to seeing who does and how we do the commentary, because I hope you don't expect me to spot any fallers. Good job we don't have any. Good job we don't have any fallers anymore in this race.
Well, absolutely. We will be joined by RP Live Queen Natalie Green comes back to join us, and Whisperit making his debut on the show. We've convinced Dave Jennings to have his afternoon in the sun. You can have your voice heard. Watch on YouTube, 2 p.m. Anything on Twitter. #RP Live.
There you go. Look at that. Paul Kealy. Morning, noon and night.
I
He's in the studio.
know. Get their pound of flesh, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Are you paying rent or what? I don't know what's going on. But honestly, you think you zone out with me over an hour? 3 hours with Dave tomorrow?
Oh, I will definitely squeeze a kip in.
Fair enough. Let's get the naps then. Day 2 of the Grand National Festival, starting off with Mr. Paul Kealy. What's the nap?
Yeah, I think in terms of price against chance, I think no looking back in the top Novices Hurdle.
Okay, lovely stuff. Tom Segal?
He nicked that one off me. I was going to go for that one as well, so I will change to Pull Again Green in the Handicap Hurdle, and I'm off for some profiteroles, Ross.
Okay, lovely stuff.
Extra chocolate sauce, I hope.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely stacks of them, a huge pyramid of them. I'll go for Maximilian in the 3 mile novice hurdle. David Stevens, just desserts for you.
I'm afraid it's Maximilian also.
Lovely stuff. There we go. Right. I hope you enjoyed day 2 of Aintree. We'll be back to preview the Grand National, of course. If you haven't already, like and subscribe to the stream. And Keel's off for a pint of Guinness. Seagal's off for some profiteroles. I'm going to treat myself to a nice banoffee pie. Good night.